Hey, I'm Brutalnia. In this video is a guide on how to tank with a protection paladin in Wrath of the Lich King patch 3.3.5. Prot paladins are a class that is welcome to any raid group. They are among the strongest tanks in the game, and unlike warriors, they rarely have any problems with generating threat and holding aggro. Another reason to roll a paladin tank is the fact that they are very straightforward and easy to learn, which makes them ideal for newer players. Now let's begin by going over the different talent builds. What you are seeing now are only the talents that are mandatory and used universally. Which talents is best to spend the remaining points on depends on what exactly you intend to tank and what gear do you have at your disposal, but generally the most widely used build is this one. For multi-target situations, however, it's quite useful to have Seal of Command, so you could also use this version as well. When it comes to major glyphs, you have a choice between the following: Glyph of Divine Plea, Glyph of Righteous Defense, Glyph of Seal of Vengeance, Glyph of Salvation, Glyph of Hammer of the Righteous, and Glyph of Avenger Shield. Just like it is for the talents, the best glyph choices can vary, but I find the first three ones to be the most useful. To make it easier for you to decide which ones will be best in your case, I'm going to go over all of them one by one. Glyph of Divine Plea has a pretty straightforward effect of reducing all damage you take by 3% while you are generating your mana with Divine Plea. If you've never played a protection paladin before, you may think that this glyph is somewhat useless due to Divine Plea only having a 12-second duration, but unlike the way it is in other specializations, when you're playing Prot, Divine Plea will have 100% uptime. That's because of the Guarded by the Light talent, which resets the duration of your Divine Plea buff back to 12 seconds every time you hit someone. This basically means that this glyph will reduce all damage you take by 3% permanently, which makes it one of the best glyphs you have at your disposal. The second glyph you should consider is Glyph of Righteous Defense. Every tank knows that if he loses aggro, it will probably lead to someone in the group dying and the potential wipe.
Biggest fucking failure ever. Oh my fucking god. 5% on the fucking boss who's wiping all night. Perfect clean attempt and you fucking wipe us.
In order to be sure that your taunt won't miss at the worst possible time, use this glyph. Glyph of Seal of Vengeance increases your expertise by 10 while you're using that seal. This glyph is also recommended because expertise is a pretty rare stat that you will have a hard time capping otherwise. Glyph of Salvation, however, is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it causes Hand of Salvation to reduce all damage you take by 20%, and having an additional defensive cooldown can be quite useful, but it could also cause you to lose aggro. Use this glyph only if you are sure that you won't have any threat issues. Glyph of Hammer of the Righteous is perfect for tanking the trash, but during single target encounters it's going to be useless. Glyph of Avenger Shield, on the other hand, is good in exactly the opposite situation. It doubles the damage of your Avenger Shield but makes it hit only one target. Use this glyph only if you're the main tank. For minor glyphs I recommend Glyph of the Wise, Sense Undead and Lay on Hands. And now let's talk about the stats. First we're going to go over the ones that need to be capped. Your first and foremost priority should be to get your defense skill to 540. The reason for this is because that way bosses won't be able to critical hit you and one-shot you. The second cap on the list is 26 expertise. This stat reduces the chance that enemies will dodge, parry or block your attacks. Capping your expertise rating will help you with your threat generation. An attack that gets parried does 0 damage, which means 0 threat. Another stat that you should consider capping is hit rating. In order to never miss with your special attacks, you need exactly 8% hit, which is equal to 263 hit rating, but unlike the defense cap, which is absolutely necessary, capping your expertise and hit is somewhat optional. And now that we've covered this, let's move on to the priority list for all the other stats. Before we begin, you should keep in mind that the importance of each stat varies per boss encounter, but generally the order is the following. Your most important stat is stamina. However, this doesn't mean that you should sacrifice all other stats for it and stack as much stamina as possible. Having a large health pool allows you to take in more consecutive hits before dying, which in turn gives your healers more time to heal you back to full. If your maximum life is too low, you could die before they have time to react. The second most important stat is armor. It decreases all physical damage you take by a certain percentage, and since most of the damage you take will be from melee attacks, it's going to be useful in almost every situation. Strength is another extremely versatile stat because it increases both your offensive and defensive capabilities. This is due to the fact that strength translates into 3 different attributes: attack power, spell power and block values, so that it actually increases the damage of all of your abilities. The reason it gives you spell power is because of the touch by the light talent, which also means that it increases the amount of damage you absorb with your sacred shield. The fourth most important stat is defense rating. This of course is only if you've already reached the cap, otherwise it should be your number 1 priority. Defense rating is better than just dodge, parry or block by themselves because it increases all 3 of them. The next stats on the priority list are parry, dodge, agility and block. The main reason block is at the bottom of the list is the fact that it doesn't avoid the attack completely like parry and dodge do, but instead it only absorbs a limited amount of damage equal to your block value. And now let's talk about enchants. On your head slot, use the Arcanum of the Tower of Protector, which gives you 37 stamina and 20 defense rating. You can buy this enchant for gold from this vendor in Ice Crown, but first you need to be revered with Dungeon Crusade faction. For your shoulders, the best enchant is the Greater Inscription of the Pinnacle, which increases your dodge by 20 and your defense rating by 15. This one is also sold by a vendor for gold, but it requires you to be revered with the Sons of Kudir. On your back put 225 armor or 16 defense rating if you are not defense cap. For the chest slot you have 3 options: 10 to all stats, 275 life or 22 defense rating. On your bracers put 40 stamina or 102 stamina if you are a leather worker. On your gloves put Armsman enchant or 240 armor if you have no problems with regeneration. For your belt use an eternal belt buckle which adds an additional gem socket. On your legs put Frostkite leg armor for 55 stamina and 22 agility. On your boots use Tuskar's Vitality, which gives you 15 stamina and increases your movement speed, or just 22 stamina if you have the Pursuit Justice talent. The best weapon enchants are Blade to Arts and Bull Draining, but those are bugged on most private servers, so you can use Mongoose instead. On your shield put Titanium Plating or 20 defense rating if you are not defense cap. The best Libram for protection paladins is Libram of Defiance, which you can buy for Emblems of Triumph. This one gives slightly less dodge rating than a fully stacked Libram of the Eternal Tower, but it has a better uptime. And now to gemming. For a meta gem use an Austere Earth Siege Diamond, and on the bull sockets use 30 stamina gems. What gems are best for the remaining sockets depends on the socket bonus of the Titan. If it gives 6 or more stamina, then on bull sockets put 10 defense rating plus 15 stamina and 10 strength plus 15 stamina or 10 agility plus 15 stamina on the red ones. But in cases where the socket bonus sucks, just put stamina gems. The best professions are jewel crafting and leatherworking, but mining and blacksmithing are also very beneficial. Being a jewel crafter allows you to put in 3 special gems from which you will gain 63 stamina in total or 42 from any secondary stat. If you are a leather worker, you will be able to use a special enchant for your bracers, which gives 62 more stamina than the regular one. Blacksmithing allows you to add an extra gem socket to your bracers and gloves, which is equal to 60 more stamina. One advantage that being a jewel crafter or a blacksmith has over the other professions is the fact that they'll be useful even if you aren't a tank, because you can use whatever gems you'd like. Now let's move on to the gameplay. The optimal rotation is called 969 and it's relatively simple. All you have to do is alternate between abilities with a 6 and 9 seconds cooldown. The ones with a 9 second cooldown are Holy Shield, Judgment and Consecration, and those with a 6 second cooldown are Shield of the Righteous and Hammer of the Righteous. The main advantage of this rotation is that this way you'll never be just sitting around and waiting for your abilities to come off cooldown, and also your Holy Shield buff will be always active. Avenger's Shield is not part of the main rotation because its cooldown is too long. It's worth using only in multi-target situations since it hits several targets, which will help you build up threat. However, if you have the Glyph that doubles its damage, then you may sometimes insert it into your single target rotation instead of Consecration for additional damage. Another application is to use it when pulling. Since it's an instant ability and has a long cast range, you can use it together with Hand of Reckoning. But before that, don't forget to put Sacred Shield and Divine Plea on. Those two buffs together with Holy Shield and Righteous Fury should be always on you. Before pulling the boss, you may also use Avenging Wrath for some additional threat. Other damage dealing abilities that you may use from time to time are Hammer of Wrath and Holy Wrath. If you are the off tank and the boss is not currently attacking you, you can use Hammer of Wrath instead of Holy Shield. Holy Wrath on the other hand is perfect for the trash in ICC because it does damage to all the undead and demon targets around you. In addition to that, it also stuns everyone it hits for 3 seconds, which you can use to give yourself some breathing room when things get tough. The defensive cooldowns you have at your disposal are Divine Protection, Lay on Hands, Hand of Salvation if you have the Glyph for it, and Divine Plea if you have 4 parts of the tier 10 set. Divine Shield can only be used in order to dispel all of your debuffs, and that's only if there's a backup tank who can take aggro in the meantime. This is so because using your bubble causes you to immediately drop aggro and lose all threat, which can lead to someone in the group dying. For single target encounters use Seal of Vengeance, and for AoE fights switch to Seal of Command. Among the different blessings, the most useful one is Blessing of Sanctuary. If you are going to a serious raid, don't forget to bring a flask and buff wood. The best flask is Stone Wood, which increases your health by 1300, and the best food from a survival point of view is Blackened Dragon Fin because of the increased dodge chance and armor you get from the agility. Another good buff food is Dragon Fin Fillet, which will increase your strength and stamina by 40. If some of the DPSers in the group are too overgeared and doing too much damage, you should ask other rocks and hunters to use tricks of the threat and misdirection so that a portion of their threat gets reserved to you. In order to simplify your rotation and make sure that you won't get confused and use abilities in the wrong order, you can group them into 2 macros. One macro for those with a 6 seconds cooldown and another for your 9 second cooldown abilities. That way, for most of the time you'll only have to press 2 buttons and you'll be able to focus more on the mechanics of the particular encounter. And if you want, you can make your rotation even more face roll by combining all of your abilities into one macro. Keep in mind though that the order of abilities in these macros is fixed, so it's best to have all spells on your action bars in case you need to use a particular one. To make taunting easier and avoid having to waste time targeting whoever has taken the aggro, use the following macro. If your target is a friendly player, this macro is going to cast Righteous Defense on him in order to taunt the mobs that are attacking him. If you're targeting a creature, it's going to pull it with Hand of Reckoning, and if Hand of Reckoning is on cooldown, then it's going to use Righteous Defense on whoever that mob is attacking. To save yourself some space on your action bars, you can use a modifier key macro like this one for your judgments. If you press it while you're holding the shift key, it's going to cast Judgment of Wisdom. If you're holding Alt, it will cast Judgment of Justice, and if you aren't holding down anything, it's going to use Judgment of Light. You can use the same technique to make a seal change macro by just changing the names of the abilities. That way you'll be able to easily switch between Seal of Command, Vengeance and Wisdom with the push of a button. If you're tired of having to click all of your buffs one by one before pulling, then you may find this macro useful. Just press the same button 3 times and you're done. Once you're done with the buffs, use the following macro to pull the boss. Since Hand of Reckoning has no global cooldown, it's a good idea to combine it with Avenger's Shield for additional threat. Some useful add-ons for protection paladins are Pally Power, Omni CC, Omen Threat Meter, Rating Buster, Error Filter, and Protection is surprisingly stupendous. The last one is basically a pro version of the CLC Ret add-on and is going to help you with your rotation by telling you what abilities to use. Pally Power is the dream add-on for every paladin because it makes buffing up your raid group much easier. Omni CC is another useful add-on and its function is to add numbers to abilities that are on cooldown, indicating how long until they will be ready to use. Omen is practically mandatory for tanks because it shows you how much threat everyone has from the current target, thanks to which you'll know if there's any danger of losing aggro. Rating Buster saves you the headaches of having to calculate manually what stats you will receive from your items by displaying all relevant information on the item's tooltip. And finally, Error Filter makes your screen more clean by hiding the error messages that normally pop up when you spam your abilities. This concludes the tutorial on how to play Protection Paladin in PvE. I hope that you found it useful, and if you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe for more.